Hey guys, Justin here. This week Arca is at Las Vegas, which is one of the best combos in all of iRacing to learn how to save tires while still maintaining a fast pace. There is sometimes a 20 to 30% discrepancy in right front tire percentage at the end of the race between some of the front runners and some of the people mid and at the back of the pack. So I came up with 3 different drills to help people with all the different aspects of tire saving on oval intermediates. These drills will go over every aspect of the corner entry, the corner center, and the corner exit. Now, full disclaimer, while I believe these drills are very broad in how they can help you for different types of tracks, I can't guarantee that they will work with every track and every setup, and I will try to explain what will work and what won't along the way. I will also be showing in-car perspectives of what is a pass and what is a fail for each of these drills to help you guys get a better idea of what to look for. And finally, before we jump into the first drill, as I also said in my last video, we are on the race to 10k subs, and once we get there, I'm going to be doing a huge giveaway. Here's a list of everything I'm giving away so far, and I'm trying to get more stuff to give away to you guys because I'm super excited and I want to expedite the process, and I'd really appreciate your guys' help. Alright, let's get to that first drill. Number 1, I call lock the wheel. The purpose of this drill is to help people understand what saves tires and what doesn't in corner entry. The goal is to enter the corner normally, but before you hit the apex of the corner, you have to lock your wheel in place and not move it at all for the rest of the corner. Your car will do one of 3 things. The first thing it'll do is it'll spin out, and that is actually what we are looking for on top of all else, because that means that the car is on the right rear at that moment in time when you entered the corner. Now, this is somewhat setup specific and car specific, but in general, iRacing fixed up cars like being on that right rear. The second outcome is that the car slides all the way up into the wall and you knock down the wall. In most situations, this is a fail, because what happens here is that is telling you that you needed to turn your wheel more than you had already done at the beginning of the corner, when we had already established that that doesn't really even need to happen. So that extra wheel input would turn into excessive right front tire wear. The third thing that can happen is that you actually make the corner and exit normally. Now, you could have had this happen because you had the timing right and the car was neutral balanced all the way through the corner, and that's pretty darn good. Sometimes you have to modulate the throttle to keep the car off the wall. And you know what? That is good too, because that is showing you what needs to be done to preserve right front tire after you missed the entry of the corner. So there are 2 ways to pass this test. The best way to pass this test is to have the car loose for the entire corner, and you are just saving tons of right front. But the second way to pass is to take a bad entry and modulate the throttle in a way to where you are not excessively wearing your right front tire. But enough of me describing it, let's go take a look at it. Alright, so let's see how to do this drill and how to apply it. So I'm going to put an active reset point down right there in a test session, and we're going to do lock the wheel first. So I'm going to enter this corner. Once I get my initial turn in, I'm going to lock the wheel. Okay, no turning from now on. And that is exactly what we want. We want the car to get loose, okay? Why do we want the car to get loose? Because that tells us it's on the right rear, and all we had to do to make that corner is unload the wheel. So let's try again. Okay, off the throttle, lock the wheel. Am I gonna hit the wall? Am I gonna hit the wall? No. And I actually make corner exit there because of the angle. That's kind of how it works on the top line. So what does that prove? That proves that we do not need to turn the wheel any more to the left after we make our initial turn in. We just let the car do the work for us as long as our throttle inputs are correct. And so let me show you what happens if the throttle input isn't correct. Okay? So let's see what happens when we fail lock the wheel. I'm gonna turn in, lock the wheel. We slide up and hit the wall. That's a failure of lock the wheel. So that is one of 2 things. That could be that you took too much momentum into the corner, you stayed on the gas for too long, and you weren't able to get the car on the right rear. Hi there, editing Justin here. I forgot to say the second thing. The second thing is when you get back to full throttle too quickly before your car gets a chance to rotate. What we want is to use the lock the wheel drill to get the car on the right rear. So see how my car is rotating all on its own, and I just got loose, and all I did was hold the wheel in full throttle. Now let's put a couple things together. If I'm able to unload the wheel after apex, lock the wheel, lock it, and now as we start rotating off the corner, we slowly unlock it, and we have a really good corner. So we just simplified a corner, which a lot of people have trouble with saving the right front tire, by basically breaking it down into its core parts and saying, are we passing or failing this scenario? And if we are failing, how can we get it to where we are passing? The second test is going to focus on corner center, and this is going to be the right rear test. I know, I always say drive off the right rear, drive off the right rear, and it's very hard for a lot of people to understand what does that even mean. Well, I'm going to give you a test that you can determine whether in the center of the corner you are driving off the right front or the right rear. And to be completely honest with you, this is just an extension of the lock the wheel drill, but hopefully you have learned the fundamentals from the lock the wheel drill to see the fruits of your labor in the right rear test. So, after you enter the corner as you have learned from the previous drill, once you reach apex, you will jack the wheel to the left as hard as you can. Now, one of two things will happen. The first thing that could happen is that your car just spins out. And if the car just spins out or starts sliding or gets loose in any way, that is a pass, because that is showing you that the car is driving off the right rear tire. But the second thing that can happen is when you jack the wheel to the left, the car will just shoot up the hill and knock down the wall without feeling any sense of looseness at all. In this scenario, you were actually driving on the right front, and that is a fail. But I will make a quick disclaimer. A lot of the fixed setups in iRacing cannot get on the right rear no matter what. You see that a lot sometimes in C-Fixed, B-Fixed, and sometimes ARCA. A-Fixed, you don't really know. It's kind of a whole different can of worms that we'll go over another time. But if the car is not capable of getting on the right rear at all, then this test is actually just showing you how to minimize the effect of driving the car on the right front and to get it more neutral. So in that scenario, keeping the car on a neutral line throughout the corner after making that turn to the left at apex will show a better result than sliding up super quick to the wall and knocking it down before the car even had a chance. But with that out of the way, let's go take a look at the example. Alright, now let's apply the right rear test for our second drill. So same thing here, I'm going to put down an active reset point right before the start finish line. Again, if you want to practice the other corner, go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter a corner normally, get on the throttle, and then somewhere in the middle of the corner, I'm just going to turn the wheel. And if I spin out, that means I was on the right rear, and I passed the right rear test. But now, what happens if I fail the right rear test? So let's fail the right rear test. So I'm going to enter a little bit too deep, and then middle quarter, I'm going to turn the car. Oh boy, it's going up to the wall, it's going up to the wall. I did not spin out in the slightest. Isn't that crazy that I made corner exit like that? So that's the issue that some people have, is they'll make a corner exit like that with the craziest wheel input that you have ever seen, but it works, and they think that because it works, it is fine. But you saw the difference between the first one and the second one. Let's pass the right rear test this time. How do we do that? Well, we let off a little earlier. We get on the throttle full on really early, and there we go. I spun out and hit the apron before I even had a chance to spin out. And let's compare that to what happens when we overdrive the corner. We drive in really, really, really deep, jack the wheel, and slide up into the wall. And that's failing the right rear test. So if you ever wonder on a combo, especially like a cookie cutter, if you are actually driving on the right rear like all of us YouTubers tell you to, that is my little trick on to how to actually find out if you're doing it by using this right rear test. And the third and final test has to do with corner exit. So hopefully this is building on the other two drills we have already done. The third test is going to be, for lack of a better term, hand-foot coordination. What we're looking for with hand-foot coordination on exit is we want our throttle to be tied with the act of unturning the wheel to the left. So unloading the wheel, in other words. On corner exit, it is a good concept to drill into your mind that tire wear is actually an addition between the amount of steering wheel that you have inputted and the amount of throttle that you have inputted. So if you're increasing one, it is best to be decreasing the other. The hand-foot coordination drill takes that concept literally, saying, okay, if I am going to raise the throttle, that has to be met with unturning the wheel, and that the motion of your foot and your hand are completely bound together. So this one's easier to show off and driving than it is to explain, so let's head right over to that. Alright, so I brought this car to Iowa to try out something a little bit different here, because it is a little bit easier to showcase this drill. So we're going to be focusing on hand and foot coordination, and what we're going to be doing is entering the corner with the principles that we've learned already, and then now we just need to make sure that we unload the wheel as we raise the gas, and it needs to be completely tied to each other. And if you fail, you fail. That's okay. This is just training. So unload, unload and raise the throttle. Okay, we need to hold a bit, unload and raise the throttle. Perfect. A little bit loose there, but not too bad. All right. One more, we'll do a good one. Okay, hold it, hold it, hold it. Unload and raise the throttle. Unload and raise the throttle, and we tied them together. Now what happens when we fail it? Let's say I enter too deep. I'm gonna try to get back. I'm raising the throttle. Oh no, I need to turn. I need to turn because I'm not gonna make the corner. And suddenly I just burned a lot of right front tire on the exit because of that. But if we wait, hold it, unload as we raise the throttle, that's how we save tire. And now it's just maximizing the speed out of that scenario is how you save tire and go fast on corner exit. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions on these tire saving drills or if you have something different that you'd like to work on. And I want to especially thank Noah, aka Bonsai Buddy, for being a sponsor tier member to the channel. He got to choose the paint for this race footage and he chose this slick looking bare metal paint. It is awesome looking. Thanks a lot for that. Alright, thank you all for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day and I hope to see you all on the track.